Let's make some chicken shawarma wraps. Look at how beautiful they look inside. I start with the chicken. First I lay some plastic wrap over my cutting board because it makes cleaning up later way easier. Then I grab my chicken breast and trim off all the fatty, not so pretty parts before carefully slicing it in half. I would recommend starting with the thickest part. It's called a butterfly cut, and if you do it right, you can open the breast like a book and you've got a beautiful colorless meat butterfly. But honestly, it's not a big deal if you don't do it perfectly. You could just cut it in half. The main reason I do it is to get the chicken thinner so it cooks faster and it helps the marinade penetrate the chicken quicker. Next I prepare the spices by adding cayenne pepper, cinnamon, turmeric, sugar, paprika powder and black pepper, about 1 teaspoon of each, plus a tablespoon of salt. Now I have to deal with the cardamom. I could only find cardamom pods at the store, so I have to pop out the seeds first, which is a bit time consuming. But honestly, they're probably more flavorful than pre-ground cardamom. Oh, and I almost forgot to add a tablespoon of cumin. So I take out the seeds until I've got almost 2 teaspoons, then crush them with a mortar and pestle until I get a fine powder. You could probably use pre-ground cardamom, maybe a bit more of it to get the same flavor. Then I roughly chop 3 garlic cloves and smash them with the cardamom before adding the rest of my spices to the mortar. I mix it all together and it feels like this way I get more flavor out and everything combines better. But who knows, maybe that's just a placebo effect. Then I grab a big bowl and add 2 tablespoons of yogurt, mixing it with the spices until I get a paste-like consistency. I scrape the paste to the side of the bowl and start by spreading a little on the bottom. Then I place a chicken breast on top and cover it with another layer of paste. I keep repeating this process. This way it's easier to cover every inch of the chicken. Then I massage the chicken to make sure everything's well coated and place it in the fridge to marinate. Ideally you want to let it marinate overnight, but hey, not everyone has the patience for that and that's totally fine. While that's marinating, I prepare a bunch of garlic. I'm making garlic confit in my little cast iron pot, but you could easily use a ramekin for this. I peel the garlic cloves and cover them with olive oil. I pop it in the oven for 1 to 2 hours at 120 degrees Celsius or 250 degrees Fahrenheit. In the meantime, I grab a red cabbage. First I peel off the outer layer, then carefully cut it in half and quarter it. A big knife makes this part easier. And be sure to keep your fingers nowhere near the blade. Always keep your hand above the knife. We don't want to turn the purple cabbage into red cabbage. I cut out the core and slice the cabbage as thinly as I can. I place it in a bowl and add a tablespoon of salt, massaging it aggressively into the cabbage. I let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes, then drain the released liquid through a sieve. Now I prepare the dressing for my cabbage. I grab a lemon and roll it a bit to help release the juice. Then I squeeze it and add the juice of half the lemon to my bowl. I mix it with a tablespoon of honey and a big pinch of black pepper. I add the sliced cabbage back in and toss it all together. Next I make my tahini sauce. I add 1 cup of tahini in a bowl, then I mix it with the juice of the other half of the lemon and a teaspoon of salt. When I check my garlic, it hasn't turned into confit, it's more like deep fried garlic. I think the temperature was a bit too high or it stayed in the oven too long. But it could also just be that my oven is unreliable. I try to smash it up a bit before adding it to my tahini sauce, but the chunks bother me, so I quickly blend it until smooth. Then I gradually add yogurt. At first the sauce gets thick and then it looks like it's breaking, but if you keep going it turns creamy again and thickens up perfectly. Now I move on to the chicken. I heat some oil in my pan and put some cornstarch in a deep plate. I grab my chicken, remove any excess marinade and cover it fully in cornstarch. Make sure you take your time to coat every spot. I know this isn't the traditional method, but I like my chicken breast to be super juicy and tender, and the cornstarch helps seal the juices in so it doesn't dry out so quickly. Then I sear the chicken for a few minutes on each side until it's fully cooked. Since the chicken is evenly thick, it doesn't take long at all. Once all the pieces are done, I scrape the remaining marinade from the bowl and add it to the hot pan. This is important to make sure any raw chicken juices that mixed into the marinade get properly cooked. Then I splash in some water to make a flavorful sauce. Normally chicken shawarma is made on a vertical rotisserie. The word shawarma actually means something like to turn or to rotate, but I've got a little trick to get around that. I slice the chicken into small pieces and it's super tender and juicy. For me, shawarma is more about the blend of spices than the method of preparation, but I hope I haven't offended the authenticity police too much. I toss the chicken into the sauce and mix it all together. Now that everything's ready, it's time to put the wraps together. I start with the chicken, add some slices of pickles. I recommend using fermented pickles that are really sour, then some tahini sauce and top it with the red cabbage. I roll the wraps tightly and now you can either eat it right away or give it a quick sear in the pan to hold it together. I use my waffle iron for this. It's also super useful for reheating the chicken if you want to eat the wrap the next day. Now let's cut it open and take a bite. I absolutely love these wraps. I don't use this kind of spice blend very often, so it's really mind-blowing how good it tastes. That's it for now, see you in the next one.